Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Weiss, and I am back for the Ask Jason Weiss show. I am your host, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And today I am very excited to have my first guest ever, Steven Rodriguez, who's the co-founder and CEO of Elevate Business, a phenomenal guy. Love working with him. Just such a, as I would say, such a mensch. And he is one of the major reasons why I've got Ask Jason Weiss up and running. So I want to introduce Steven, and we're going to talk today about stop chasing the unicorns. That's just a little bit of teaser. But Steven, I know you don't like promoting yourself, but promote yourself just a little bit so everybody knows what you're about.
Well, all right, Jason. So, hi, my name is Steven Rodriguez. So basically what I love helping people do and what my team loves helping people do is create businesses that create the life someone wants as opposed to someone having to be run by their business and sacrificing their life for it. We've helped people in a variety of industries: manufacturing, food service, online coaching, retail, a bunch of different places. And we've helped our clients generate millions of dollars, which is both good and not good depending on the person. And the reason why is because some people it's the best thing in the world, and for other people it creates, well, if they don't know what they want, it can create a living nightmare for them. And ultimately what we do is we help people figure out what they want, so that way they're not creating a posh prison, so to speak.
And that's what Steven's doing with me. So we're creating and we're building and we're growing Ask Jason Weiss, so I can do more on the consulting and coaching and just helping lawyers and attorneys and professionals just find happiness. And Steven and I, we talk about pain points and pressure points and what it's going to take. You know, if you want to earn $100,000 a month, what's your trade-off? So one of the things that Steven's going to talk about today with me is chasing the unicorn. So we all know what a unicorn is. It's a mystical creature, and you know, sometimes they exist and sometimes they don't. I played World Association of Kickball, or no, the World Adult Kickball Association, and we used to call the unicorn the 3-pitch inning. You throw 3 pitches, you get 3 outs. It's a unicorn. Barely ever happens, but every once in a while you come across it. And in my field, especially as being an attorney, one of the things that I'm constantly saying and dealing with clients is it's not the right time. It'll be the right time when the judge grants something, the party pays a bill, the opposing counsel agrees to this. So, and I'm guilty as anybody when it comes to this, that I'm always saying, when this happens, I will do that. And to me, that's what the unicorn is. The unicorn is okay, at some point in time, it'll be just right to do it. And I am learning through Steven, through others, through friends, you got to do it now, because you might be standing around waiting for the unicorn for the rest of your life, and it may not appear.
Yep.
So that's my take on the unicorn. Steven, what do you think?
I like how you put it. There's different kinds of unicorns. Like you said, there's the unicorn of time, right? When is it going to be the right time to actually get things done? When is it going to be the right time for the stars to align perfectly and everything to suddenly just go, and suddenly you have golden rainbows and that kind of thing. The unicorn takes on many forms. In our industry especially, the unicorn takes on that ever elusive $1 million title that people pursue and chase. It's like, want to be a millionaire. And I can do it in 5 minutes if I just follow this simple 3-step sales funnel process that's going to let me be a millionaire for the next 200 years, right? And it's completely false in that, can you make $1 million in 5 minutes? Yes. Does it happen overnight? For the unicorns, it does. But the problem is that if someone is not hitting those milestones, if someone is not getting there in 5 minutes, then they just give up, they stop, and they say, I'm done. I can't do this. It's impossible. But the problem with chasing the unicorn is life is not about a race to the top. Life is literally about the journey. Life is about the steps that you take. And sometimes the journey is more important than the destination, because as we're on this journey together, becoming better people, business is one of those things that if you're living in a hyper-capitalistic society, it's only about making money, and it's not about using that money for anything else other than I need to outdo the other person, which is also another unicorn, right? Look at me, the horn on my unicorn is much longer than that guy or whatever. And the thing is what people don't realize is everyone's just gluing horns to horses. Okay.
So
it's not real.
So here's my question. I don't compete with the next door neighbor or the Joneses, or I don't compare my unicorn's horn to somebody else's. I compare my unicorn's horn to what I want. It's what I want. I want to drive a Ferrari, not so that people can go, look at that guy driving a Ferrari. No, to me, if I could afford a Ferrari, I can afford, everything I need. I'm now financially free. That's my symbol. I don't believe that's a unicorn.
That's not a unicorn.
That's my carrot.
That is your carrot
there. And one of the things that you said, and I want to go back to that because it was important, was, like when you're in the moment, the life is a journey. You talked about that. We're in a journey. The journey is more important than the end. How do you take that step back when you're in the middle of it? Like if you're in the middle of, I'll just use the law world. You're in the middle of a deposition, and your client says, something that, your entire case just falls apart in the middle of a depo, or you're in a meeting and you're doing a pitch and someone pitches the wrong thing or talks about a competitor instead. You're pitching to Pepsi and you're talking about Coke, and you're saying, how do you live it in that moment? How do you get away from it from that second? Like all of a sudden your whole world is crumbling down. How do you remind yourself, don't worry, you'll be okay? Like, is there a mind trick? Is there a mindset? Is there, how do you do it?
I think what it comes down to is this: life is about the ebbs and flows. Life is about the rising and the falling. It is the tide rolling in and the tide rolling out, the high tide and the low tide. I think what happens is we put so much stock in what success needs to be that we don't put stock in success ultimately boils down to my happiness. And what you said was this about the Ferrari. That's not a unicorn for you. That's just because you just want to have one, and that's totally fine. And I think what people do is they couple success with stuff, and they couple success with the material, and they couple success with the dozens of dollars in their bank account, not realizing that the dozens of dollars are nothing but tools. I mean, it's like $1 is just a tool. $100 bill is just a tool. You're better off collecting screwdrivers if you're looking for something with more utility. Okay. Ultimately, the money has to be a means to an end, but what is the means to the end? Well, the end is the journey, not so much the destination. But the means to an end also means what is making you happy. When you're in that moment, you find yourself miserable. You're in that moment that suddenly the world is collapsing in around you and things are falling apart and it's just complete chaos. That's the moment when you have to, instead of focusing on what's happening in front of you, retreat into a safe place within yourself. I have 3 rules that I live by, and they have served me very well. I have been through poverty. I have been through repossessions. I have lost homes. I lost a child. I mean, I've had so many things happen. And I've had 3 rules that I learned to live by. Rule number 1 is you get back up no matter what. Rule number 2 is you find peace in the pieces. And rule number 3 is you expand or die. And rule number 1 is self-explanatory. Finding peace in the pieces means that when everything is collapsing around you, in the middle of the destruction, in the middle of what feels like the end of your world, you can still find a peaceful place. There is peace to be found somewhere. You can learn to find a happy place, for lack of a better way of putting it. And expansion or death simply means it's not about scaling your business or dying. It's not about having the largest this or the smallest that, or being so altruistic that you don't own anything, or being so capitalistic that you're trying to take over every corporation and start a monopoly. Expansion or dying means about becoming a better person inside on a daily basis. It means about expanding who you are here inside of yourself, or you risk the stagnation of just the death of complacency, the death in complacency, I should say, because you just become such a complacent individual that all you're doing is existing and you're never living.
Yeah, and I find that in my profession. So you ask attorneys, hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm an attorney. What do you think? Oh, I love it. Come on. That's BS.
Let's be honest about this.
I used to go to these marketing events and everybody would be like, oh, I'm a practicing attorney and I love it and I love my job and I love my boss and I love love, 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 love. And then I would say to a friend of mine or somebody there, okay, I can believe they love their boss, they love their job, but it's not a love fest. That's not what the practice of law is. It's the practice of law, and I will pin on that because there's no answer. But we go through ebbs and flows. You can't tell me every client you're so excited to work with, every case you're so happy to handle, every judge you're so happy to be in front of. You got to go with it. And my biggest thing for me personally is I have to remind myself that, what's the worst that could happen, or what's the outcome or what's this? I mean, look, we all know I'm trying to practice less and coach more. I'm trying to help people. You can find happiness in the law. You can find happiness in what you're doing. You can find happiness anywhere. And I love, and I use it all of the time. It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up. And I also say how quickly you get up, because to me, that's important. You bounce back. That's important. That's quick. Sometimes you need to lay there and really feel it and get it and then get up. And I've never heard that before. Find the peace within the pieces. I think that's great. I interpreted it close. To me, it explodes. What can you salvage? What can you pick up? What could you put in your bag and take with you? Because it's kind of like you're forced to clean house a little bit. It's the stuff that's broken, you leave there. You sweep it up. You put it in the garbage. The stuff that you can still work with, that's the good stuff. And it's kind of like a forcing you to clean house, to put stock in what it was. And the third point was the
expand or die.
Expand or die. I like that one too. It's, find the peace, expand or die. And it's just great. You got to roll with the punches. And I know, and I admit it, I am not a big roll with the punches guy. I like everything to be
linear.
Yeah. And it's got
ordered.
And it jumps out. I'm thrown for a loop and I need to take a deep breath and I need to figure it out. So you touched a little bit on some of the growing experiences that you've had in your past. What's your number one Vader? Sorry, that's Vader. What do you think your number one coping mechanism is for you? A deep breath, a go for a run. Because you've dealt with a lot just based on the couple of things, and we've chatted in the past. But a suggestion, you're in the middle of everything, and it all falls apart. And
I think I think that the biggest coping mechanism that I have, if we want to call it that, I've just learned that it all always winds up okay. And I just retreat into that solace, into that peace, frankly. It used to be that, and granted, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like when I'm under like a high stress situation here at work, right? Because they still happen, right? No. Yeah, they still happen. Something broke. I remember we had something break in the middle of a launch. Like it was like the day of, and the entire website was erased that we had spent like 4 or 5 months building, and it was an all hands on deck situation, right? That happens. But when that happens, I think the first thing that you should not do is don't panic. Because people tend to start immediately flying into panic mode of what are we going to do? And it's like, no. Don't fly into what are we going to do? Fly into what can I do now? Like my first thing is if I'm in the acute situation is I immediately flip into, okay, What resources do I have in my immediate disposal? What can I immediately do to start solving the problem right now? I can scream, I can cry, I can complain, I can get angry, but that will not solve this problem unless getting angry pulls the lever to move the thing forward. But 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. So what I've learned to do is, okay, in the acute, take stock of resources and start applying resources. When I have a chance to step away, I grab my Oculus Quest 2 and I'll go into one of the rooms over here and, I'll play a game for a little bit. I'll take 15 minutes and just go and decompress there. I'm a big Lego fan. I'm an adult fan of Lego. And yes, exactly. So then what I'll do is I'll go and I'll get a Lego set and I'll build it. It's a very peaceful, very comforting thing for me. What I'll do is I'll sit and I'll write out how I feel. I'll write out the things running through my head. I will kind of retreat and get into a place of peace where I'm like, okay, it just blew up. There are pieces everywhere, right? Now, to your point, Jason, what you said earlier about how you interpret it as figure out what's left, that is that too, where you do figure out, okay, what do I have left from this? And what can I then take? I've learned that one of the most important things we can do is live life by subtraction. And what I mean by that is, as you have to throw yourself into stuff to figure out what it is that you love. You have to throw yourself into things to figure out what makes you happy. And you have to be honest with yourself, not an attorney's love fest where you're sitting there and being like, it's all great. And everyone's drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And they're all, somebody put magic mushrooms in it or something. Nothing like that. It's really about being honest with you. Do I really love this? Do I really like doing this? Because I think people also confuse passion with purpose. And the big thing that happens there when you confuse passion with purpose is if you don't feel passionate about something, passion comes and goes. That does ebb and flow. I think one of the biggest things that happened to me, 2017, what everyone's 2020 was, that was my 2017. 2017 was miserable. But it's weird. I lost passion, like the drive, like if I could only do this, then everything would be great. I haven't had that in years. What I have found is the value and the purpose of the work I do, which brings me happiness, which is separate from passion. And so because of that, I found something that makes me happy. And if part of it doesn't make me happy, I ask myself, is this a temporary inconvenience or is this really diminishing my life? If it's a temporary inconvenience, then I'm like, okay, I can deal with it. I'm still going to be happy because there's purpose in what I do. If it starts to diminish my life, then it's time to subtract it. It's time to subtract the things that are taking away from what I feel my purpose and my happiness is, which then leads, weirdly enough, back into new passion. But the new passion does not have to do with the visceral, overdriven, emotional, hormonal aspect of it. It's a passion that is not rooted in feeling. It is a passion rooted in purpose, which makes it have the longevity that you need to see through the hardest things. It's like love. Love is butterflies and piranhas. That's the one thing I tell people. I've been privileged to be able to officiate at wedding ceremonies. And that's the thing I've said. It's like when I've looked at the bride and the groom, I'm like, love is butterflies and piranhas. There's going to be days where it's like, you're wonderful and amazing, and days when it's like, I want to rip your face off. But you're still in love. And ultimately, love does contribute to your happiness if it's true love.
Now, did you get to dress like a Star Wars character when you officiated any of these?
No, but I did wear a Darth Vader tie.
Okay. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a break here for a minute or two. I am Jason Weiss with Ask Jason Weiss, and I am your host. And I have Steven Rodriguez here with Elevate Business at elevatebusiness.io. And I think we're going to go into a little bit of a commercial, and we'll be back when I want to talk to you about maybe we'll do an experiment with me and finding my passion.
Let's do it.
We are back.
There we go.
Thankfully, I have Steven, who's elevating business and is just such a tech guru, to let me know that my mute was off. So, oh man. So we are back. I am your host, Jason Weiss. Ask Jason Weiss is my newest venture, and I have with me Steven Rodriguez from Elevate Business, who I am so excited to be working with and getting Ask Jason Weiss off the ground and launch. So we were talking about passion and getting into it. So Steven and I have had long conversations when he, of course, goes above and beyond, like always. And I've been telling him, I don't really have the passion or the love for the law anymore. And I really, the practice of law. I love the business of it. I love helping. I love being involved. I love being an advocate. That stuff is great. And what I'm really trying to do is just help lawyers that kind of feel like they're stuck. Get out of that stuck. Get out of that rut. I don't like using the word pivot. We're not pivoting, but let's get out of that rut. And one of the things that I'm having the most trouble with is trying to balance the everyday practice of law and running a law firm and going to court and doing everything and working on this project that I really think will make me happy. And I really think my happiness will turn into financial success as well, that I can get that Ferrari, that I can do what I need to do. So Steven, I guess one of the questions I would have for you is how, and you can use me as an example if you want, or you can use a hypothetical. How do I balance the, needing to work 10, 11, 12 hours a day in the law to make ends meet, to do what I need to do, and then finding the time to treat Jason like any other client? Jason has needs. Jason needs to do stuff. And I don't like talking about myself in the third person. But that's my question. How do I do it? Where's the balance? Where's the, let's make it work. Any suggestions?
So when you're changing course, and I agree, I don't like the word pivot either. Let's call it changing course, right? When we're changing course into something that's new or into something that we feel is going to fulfill us more, there's going to be inertia that we're fighting. There's already momentum in one direction, right? And what ultimately I think people forget during the process of changing course or shifting is that if you have a train that's running 200 miles an hour, it's going to take 3 or 4 miles to stop, right? You're going to have to, you got to hit the brakes at some point, right? Or do you? Maybe you need to just throttle down a little bit. So then that time that you now have is going to be devoted to working toward your venture, working toward the thing that you want to do. What tends to happen is if you have somebody that's in a comfortable routine, like they're like, okay, 5 o'clock is my cutoff time, you do need to hold and stick to that. So there's 2 ways to do this. Way number 1 is you can front load the time by going past 5 o'clock. In other words, maybe your job starts at 5, but then your passion starts at 6, right? Mm-hmm. Or your new purpose starts at 6, or your new whatever venture, whatever you want to call it, goes from 6 to 9 or 6 to 8. The number 1 thing that is the most important part of this is consistency, consistently working on it either once a week, twice a week, or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be once a week, and you will eventually have kind of like interest. It compounds and it eventually starts to pay off for you. Or you can like just burn the candle at both ends if you want and just kind of whittle it down. Some people would say that's the wrong way to do it. I don't know what's right for you. That's the thing. I cannot tell you that this is a one-size-fits-all approach. What I can do is I can tell you, experiment with front loading all your time, where 5 o'clock is your cutoff time and 6 to 8 is when you're working on your business or working on your new venture. I can tell you that, okay, well, if that didn't feel right, if that just felt very unbalanced for you, or that felt constricting or something, then the next thing you can do is maybe you end work at 4, right? Or end work at 3. And then 3 to 5 is the time that you take now to work on something. We have more time than we realize. There's actually, I'm not going to get into the complexities of like mathematical models or things like that, but we actually really only have, out of an 8-hour day, maybe 1 to 2 hours that we are really at peak hyper productivity for a task. Okay. So we actually have more time than we realize. The trick is to say, okay, if I start noticing myself, I need to be aware of what I'm feeling. If I start noticing that I'm trailing off, I'm getting on Facebook, or I'm getting on LinkedIn, or I'm getting on Twitter, or I'm suddenly finding myself like on a YouTube playlist or binge watching Netflix in the middle of the day, those are the moments where it's like, okay, my brain and body are telling me this task here is no longer productive. That's the moment to notice and say, you know what, maybe now I can shift into my new venture for the next half hour, the next 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be 6, 7, or 8 hours of your time a day. It really doesn't, unless you want it to be. And that's my point. There's no right way to do it. There's just doing it. There's just doing it consistently. There's just finding what works for you and then doing it again and again and again. Now, one of the things that we do for our clientele is we help them find what works for them, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen people say, this is the one size fits all approach, and this is what you do, period. Right. And it's very robotic, and it's just stamp, 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 stamp. No, for some people, that's not going to work at all. They need to figure out what's going to work for them. So for you, Jason, what I would say is, if you're in a place where you notice that you start finding yourself trailing off, to be cognizant and aware of the trail off and say, okay, hold on. And I know you don't like to talk to yourself in the third person, right? But then just say, Jason, you're trailing. So walk away from it. Right. Walk away from doing the legal research. Walk away from doing the whatever it is that you're doing at that moment. Maybe you're writing a contract, or you're doing something. I don't quite know the full practice of law, but you get the idea. Whatever it is that you're doing, take 10 minutes and walk away. Literally walk away. Or take 10 minutes to be like, you know what? I'm going to write some notes for my new venture. I'm going to write some notes down and some things, or take the time to post on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter to start engaging with your audience. That's the key. It is literally just about simple consistency. Correct. I'm not here to just real quick. I'm not here to give you like this is the one size fits all approach. And if you just follow my super secret ultimate formula for the best webinar, chatbot, or whatever, that's suddenly going to catapult you into nirvana. No, it's about consistency, and it's about finding what works for you. Right.
And one of the things that I did find is, believe it or not, journaling. Not so much, oh my God, I'm not feeling great, or oh my God, I'm on a high, or oh my, not that type of journaling. More like, I just finished working on a draft of a motion, and I need 15 minutes to myself. And I will log that 15 minutes. I know, for example, when I have to do a long contract, it takes me a little bit longer. And clients that are listening, don't worry, I don't bill for the longer time, but it takes me a little bit longer because I walk away for a couple minutes. I have to do it. So during that walk away time, that might be, I'll hop on LinkedIn and I'll do a post, or I'll comment on somebody else's, or someone that I owed a phone call to. I'll grab my cell phone and I'll go for a walk so that I can multitask. I find that also finding the time of the day is good for me too. I don't want to work on my stuff first thing in the morning. To be working on my stuff at 10:30 at night. So I've got to find, a happy medium. I have one client, and other than Thursdays when I'm on the show, we speak every day at noon. That's my time. I'm able to carve out 45 minutes to an hour every single day, and we talk. So if I can be that regimented and that controlled when it comes to that, then I'm saying to myself, why can't I do that for me? Why can't I say, okay, every day from 8 to 9, I'm working on my stuff. Whatever it is working on, if it's LinkedIn, if it's posting, if it's Facebook, which I really don't do, if it's Instagram, if it's writing up, why not treat me the same way I treat all my important clients and friends and family? Carve out the time. Focus on me. Come up with an agenda.
Do you want the answer to the question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'd love it.
So
I probably want to hear it, but I'll take it anyway.
No, it's pretty simple. There's two things every person looks for: safety and comfort.
Yeah.
That's it. That's like the basic human operating system. Everything we do seeks out safety and seeks out comfort. Now, some people will look at that. I was talking to someone today about this. Like, let's say somebody's in an abusive relationship, then it's like, how is that safe and comfortable? It's safer than the unknown, and it's more comfortable than the change. Exactly. So it's still safety and comfort. Now, why doesn't Stephen, why don't we carve out the time to do the things that we want for ourselves? Here's why. Because ultimately we're looking for safety and comfort. And if we are getting paid for something, it provides safety, it provides comfort.
Yep.
Therefore, I am going to have more focus there, intended or unintended, because there's an immediate reward that I receive from that. And when I'm working on myself, there is a deferred and a delayed reward system there.
You're 100% correct. And look, I invested in myself. I went to law school. I took out loans. I covered it all on my own. I paid my law school loans back. I started up my own practice. I took out, I borrowed money. I opened up my own firm. I paid myself back. I don't mind taking the risks, especially when it's something like in the law. Everything is the law. Now it's kind of a risk on the unknown.
Yeah.
Marketing, social media,
yep.
Helping others, doing the things outside. And yeah, there's safety in, I know if I go to the office or I sit at home and I work for 5 hours at $3.75 an hour, I'm going to make 15, 16. Math isn't my strong point. Well, whatever it is for the day. And I make that over the course of a year, I can take care of all my monthly musts.
Everything you need.
As I call it. That's my monthly must. I cover school and I cover mortgage and I cover car payment and blah, 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 blah. But if I go ahead and I take an hour on Ask Jason Weiss, well, I'm losing out on $375. That's not good. I can't do that. I got to figure it out. And then that cuts into all the other things, the pro bono work I do, the volunteer work I do. So it's scary. It
is scary.
And what I need to do is I need to convince myself I can make that money doing something other than law. And that's one of the things that, you go to law school, you go $100,000 in debt and you're practicing for a year, 6 months, 5 years. And you go, holy cow, I spent all this time for college, law school, interning, practicing, and I don't like it. Oh, yep. Snap. What do I do next?
Did I just waste my whole life?
Exactly. And I had that epiphany a handful of times, but it was basically a little over 3 years ago when it really connected for me. And I've been on my way out of the practice of law to help others. And it's still within the law, and I'm still doing the business, and I'm still helping, and I'm still got my core foundation, and I'm very happy I have my law degree. But for those of you that are listening and, you're sitting there and you're plugging away in the billable hour, there is more you can do with that law school degree. And I'd love to help you do it. And you could reach me at my email address, which is posted right there on the screen, but I'll read it for you. jason@jswlawyer.com. Until Stephen gets my new one up and running, which he's working on. And he's just a phenomenal partner, colleague, someone that I can bounce stuff off of. Just a phenomenal person with what he's doing with the Elevate. And I think we met because of another phenomenal person, Hannah, who's she's crushing it. Hannah is an attorney that successfully left the law. She's doing great stuff with attorneys, and not just attorneys, just professionals and everything. She's phenomenal. So I thank you, Hannah, for introducing me to Steve.
Hannah, if you're listening, thank you.
Yeah, and this is great. So Steve, favorite Star Wars movie and why? Let's have fun for the next 2 or 3 minutes before we're done. Favorite Star Wars movie and why?
Rogue One. That's actually my favorite. I felt it was very well written. I felt it was very well plotted out. Don't get me wrong. I love A New Hope. I love the original trilogy. The second trilogy, it has its moments that I'm like, that's great. The third trilogy, I'm still scratching my head on a few things. But Rogue One, I felt like was probably the best one because it really did. It really had that compelling emotional attachment. Like you've got this person, I'm going to spoil it for the people who haven't seen it. Anyway, you have this person that is an unknown that suddenly is actually known, that becomes known and follows her bliss and winds up saving the galaxy indirectly, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I'm an old school guy. I got to go with the original. That's by far my favorite. I love it. Return of the Jedi is a very close second, because I love when Luke is all powerful and he's trained and it shows. And there are so many things from that movie. I mean, for me, it's Luke was too old to be trained, and although he had the power inside of him, he was too old, and they found him not worthy. And by the end, I mean, look how powerful that man got. I mean, it was amazing. And I like that for someone like myself. I mean, I'm 45 years old and I am, I'm going through this change. I'm getting myself out of this rut. I am doing better for me and my family, my colleagues, my friends, everybody around. So we all have the force, we do. We can all do this. And I love it.
We live in one of the best times in history, because this is the time where anyone literally can just jump in with the right guidance and the right tools and really get what they want. It is no longer an either or proposition. It's an and. It's how can I have this and that, not this or that. Correct. So that's the cool part. And that's part of what I love doing too. It really is a this and that.
And I also think we're a society now that expects everything like this. The force begin today. I love it. But nice. I think we're a society that we just have everything at our fingertips right now. And it's like, and I get it as an attorney. I get it all the time. As an attorney who has an attorney, or as an attorney who works for attorneys, works with attorneys, works for myself, I'll send you the email. If you don't respond instantaneously, I'm going to text you. And then you don't respond to the text, I'm going to call you. And when I get that from clients, I'll answer the phone. Are you okay? Is this an emergency? Are you in jail? Is your house on fire? No? Okay, I'll get back to your email. Thanks. You got to have a little bit of control. But look, there are times where it's important. That house is burning. That client is going to jail. So you got to do it. So you can't cry wolf. You can't expect everything every second of every day to happen like at your fingertips like that. For someone like me, that's tough. Because I want everything now. I want everything done. I'd rather know the answer and not be happy with it than sit around and wait. Yep.
I hear you. I hear you entirely. I know exactly what you mean.
Right. And that's my profession. So let me help you, help yourself, and one of the things that Hannah taught me was by staying where you are, you might feel safe, you might feel comfortable, but what harm are you causing on yourself by staying safe and comfortable? What are you missing out? What are you hurting by just sitting there? Yeah. So we got like another minute or two to go here. So Stephen, I just, again, I want to thank you so much. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And I love working with Stephen. Like I said, co-founder and CEO of Elevate Business. You can check them out at elevatebusiness.io. What's for the non-techies? What is the .io?
It's just like tech companies adopt the .io. It's actually technically out of Sri Lanka, I think, but really, like, you have like keyboard.io, you have like Bitly, bit.ly. It was just more of like a tech thing. A lot of tech companies do .io.
So he knows what he's talking about. He's a techie. He's a Star Wars guy. And I'm just so honored to have him be part of my life, that we're working on stuff together. I also just want to thank Cece for putting this together, allowing me to do this again today. I will be back in 2 weeks. You can find me at jason@jswlawyer.com. That's my email until Stephen gets the new one up and running.
Yep.
And you can check out my website at jswlawyer.com. So thank you. And this was a blast. And Stephen, thank you tremendously.
Absolutely. And if anybody needs to get a hold of me, you can reach me at, like Jason said, elevatebusiness.io, or you can email me directly. Well, to our support, which is support@elevatebusiness.io. So if you want to have a conversation, you need help with something, we're happy to have a conversation with you and see if we can help you move the needle forward. So, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. This was awesome. Have a great day.
We'll see y'all later.